Welcome to the We Are Wake Tech podcast with your host, Wake Tech President, Dr. Scott Rawls.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Wake Tech podcast. You know, Wake Tech, we like to say we're a very jobs-focused college. It's a college that provides a gateway and a ladder to the jobs, the dynamic job opportunity market that is Wake County and the Research Triangle region. So if you're going to be a jobs-focused college in one of the hottest jobs areas in the United States, you better be pretty strong in career services, and we are at Wake Tech. And thanks to Lynn Kapczak, who directs the career services programs here at Wake Tech. Lynn, now your official title, tell me.
I'm officially Dean of Career Services.
Dean of Career Services. Yes. I knew when I said director, I knew you were a dean, but it's Career Services, and in the past few years, we've taken efforts at Wake Tech to bring together all aspects of career services under your leadership and the great team that you have, and you guys are rocking and rolling. So we're going to talk about the many options available in career services here at Wake Tech. But before we do that, Lynn, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to Wake Tech, when and how, in that process. You said it was a little off the wall, so I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Well, it certainly is, Dr. Rawls, and I decided I was a stay-at-home mother for 18 years, which a lot of people don't realize. And my husband was a pilot, and it was just too hectic with 3 kids. So I did that, and then I decided maybe it was time for me to re-enter the workforce. And I was signing up for the Substitute Effective Teacher Training class, and I saw an application for Human Resources Development. I filled it out. They were looking for someone to teach customer service, and I said, well, I have a master's in hospitality and tourism. I can do that real easily. The next day they called me. And so I started there part-time, and that led very quickly into, at the time, a grant. It was called Career Start. And so I was running weekly workshops for people that it was tied to their food stamp benefits. That was a term back there. Yep. Yes, so that was almost 20 years ago. So I spent a decade in human resources development, which we refer now to as career and professional development, and have a lot of community outreach with that. And then I took over as Dean of Career Services a decade ago. I started July 1st of 2013.
And I've been doing that for 10 years.
I have been.
Terrific. So
yes.
You've had a huge impact here at Wake Tech.
Well, I've tried, and I like to say that I lead by example, and I recognized at Wake Tech that I was at a disadvantage not having a master's in education, so I went to NC State, finished a second master's degree, had to take the GRE, but it felt
While you were here?
Yes,
yeah.
While I was working full-time, going to school part-time, and finished that degree, and things have turned out nicely ever since.
Well, that's great.
Yes.
You're also a great example for our students about we live continuous education, lifetime learning, and you've really demonstrated that too during your time here, and the benefits and how it pays off.
Well, and in human resources development or career and professional development, we have a lot of adults re-entering the workforce in their 40s and their 50s. So I think I was at a good place to help guide them through that process, having done it myself in my mid-40s. So I felt like that was useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's dig into career services, and as we dig in, maybe we start with where you started, and you made reference to human resources development. It's actually, when our listeners hear that, they may think, well, you started out in HR at Wake Tech. Actually, human resources development is the name of a program that we now at Wake Tech call Career and Professional Services.
Professional development.
Career
That's
and
correct.
Professional Development, which
Yep.
actually is a program that is very unique to North Carolina.
It
was
is.
started in the 1970s. Sometimes I have worried about that program when I was state president because it was so innovative, but it kind of gets lost in the mix sometimes. So this is a good time to talk about it because that program is a way for individuals in our community to get access to resources, take free courses that help them get jobs and what are essentially employability skills. So
Right.
Can you describe the eligibility and what's in those particular programs? Because that falls under your purview now as Dean.
It does, absolutely. And I would say that the fee waive courses are to help the unemployed and underemployed. So if there's anybody in the community that feels like they need a better job or just a job, we can help you with that. We run classes monthly that focus on resume review, the interviewing skills, job applications, LinkedIn profiles these days. And so those are all skills that anyone entering the workforce needs. And again, and we go out in the community too. We work at the Wilmington Street Men's Shelter. We're at Healing Transitions working with that population. So I think we do a lot of good.
Yeah.
We do a lot of good. Yes.
There is a program, as we like to say, reach and rally. It reaches out in the community and rallies around folks who are trying to get to that next place in their job search and to develop those skills they need right then, particularly maybe if they haven't been in a transition period for a period of time.
There is a lot of need in the community, and those places that I just mentioned, I've taught classes there. I taught classes there for years, and there's a need and a real appreciation on the public's part too for those kinds of services.
So if you hear this podcast and you're thinking about career transition and not where to start, call to us. You can be a student free of charge in these classes that we offer on a monthly basis, and resume writing and all different forms of employability skills.
Right, and we also started a new series, Pathway classes this year, and we started off with IT and healthcare and moved into engineering and lastly education and human services. And basically it's for current students, it's for prospective students, it's for alumni, just helping to really look into what kinds of jobs you can get based on what kind of majors we have here at Wake Tech. And a lot of students aren't real clear on the different types of engineering, for example, or the healthcare with medical jobs that are clinical based and those that are non-clinical based. And so we really take a deep dive into all those aspects, and with the point being helping our students or our prospective students make informed decisions about their programs of study.
Well, I know that's been a real point of emphasis for us, is trying to help people find their path, find their ladder, as we like to say. And we have over, I think, 250 different degree options here at Wake Tech. So about any job that's in our community, there is a pathway to it. But it can be tough navigating. So you're kind of taking these chunks, and for folks who may know that they want to be in this particular field or this particular area of jobs, but not knowing which particular path to go down, that helps them get there. Is that
Yes,
the way it works?
That's exactly what happens, and the feedback has been really very positive about these. They run once, it's a 2.5-hour course, generally speaking. We do it mostly in the evening so that people have time to work it into their busy schedules. But yeah, really popular. And another emphasis that we've had is on helping students make informed decisions about programs of study in higher demand, higher wage fields, and that's been very important to career services for years. Even before the pandemic, we were talking about living wages back in 2018, living wage jobs. So we want to make sure our students are educated about what they can expect, entry level, the median range, and then let's say 10 years down the road. Important for them to consider that. One consideration.
So can you walk through your area? And we've talked about the pathways courses and the areas. We've talked about the HRD, or as we call it now, career and professional development courses. But you have a breadth of different areas and opportunities for Wake Tech students and for people in the community to reach through your division. Can you talk about some of the other areas in your division?
Yes, I'd be happy to. One important area of career services is the part that focuses on career exploration. I don't know if you're aware of this, Dr. Wells, but 50 to 60% of students entering higher ed are undecided.
I can believe it.
And 70% of students changed their majors within the first semester. And so we're trying to not have that happen as frequently. We'd like students to be really conscientious about what they want to do and what they want to study. So we spend a lot of time. We have assessments that we can help students take, and that'll help them figure out, what are your strengths? What do you like to do? What are you good at? What kind of work-life balance are you striving for? So there's multiple considerations, but we spend a lot of time with students in that area and hopefully get them on the right path so they're not changing their majors so frequently and wasting time and money. And then we have professional career coaches now. They'll work with degree and non-degree programs both as part of this one college approach, so they can talk about workforce continuing ed, the non-degree short-term courses. They can talk about associate's degrees and 2-year degrees and certificates and diploma programs as well. So they do all that, and a lot of what we do is help students, and we don't want to be the best kept secret in town. We want students to come to us earlier, not at graduation, but earlier, So we can talk about what is it that you need to do so that when you leave here, your resume looks great. I mean, that could be joining clubs, it could be doing work-based learning, finding internships. So we like to get started with our students early so that they make a good impression.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us, you mentioned the career coaches. So if I'm a Wake Tech student, first, why would I see a career coach, and then how and what would they do for me?
There are various reasons why you'd see a career coach. You might have to decide on your major. That could be the first point. It might be that you need part-time work. We know that 80% of our students are working at least part-time. So a lot of them come to us early on and try and find something that works. And of course, we help them focus on jobs that will mean something to their degree, if possible. So that could be it, which would entail maybe a job application or a resume that we have to create with the students, interviewing skills, if they get an interview, if they land an interview. So all of those things, and we try and focus with some of our programs to study a lot on the LinkedIn profiles too. And so, let's talk about what that should look like before you put it up there and display all these things. So we want them to be very intentional about their jobs. So, and then of course, when they are getting ready to graduate, they're looking for full-time roles, and we spend a lot of time working with students, in those areas too. I can give you health sciences. Every single program has us embedded into their programs of study. So we go into the nursing program, you name it, all the programs over there. We go into and talk with students about what the instructors want us to talk about with them.
In terms of helping the students make that transition when they move into the workplace.
Right, and we bring employers in front of them, so we do informational sessions, we do small scale, and large scale career fairs, just so that our students can practice networking. What does that look like to do an elevator pitch in front of it? What is that for starters, and how do you do that with an employer? And how do you make the best impression possible? So, yeah, and we like our employers to talk with our students. What are their expectations? What are they looking for on a resume? That's the best kind of advice they can get for those that are hiring them.
Your team is really the career matchmakers at our college, and I guess there's two parts of the equation there. We have over 70,000 students that you support, but then it's also the employers that you're engaged with in our community. So how do employers engage with us through career services in terms of that match?
Well, it's interesting because one of my employer connections individuals was at a conference recently and said a lot of schools were having problems. They couldn't get the employers to come to campus to hire their students. Ian Gibbons said, we don't have that problem. Employers want to come to campus. Yeah. They want to get in front of students in the classroom. So, respecting academic time too. So there's a happy medium between getting people in front of students, employers. That would be, but we still do a lot of informational sessions, mostly in the evenings. Now we have a virtual option too. Some of the larger companies just like to come and do a presentation, a day in the life of an IBMer, for example, or what kinds of roles is Cisco hiring for our students with associate degrees. So we have plenty of employers, making their way to campus for those purposes.
And one of the things you mentioned, Ian, and the team, and working with the different parts of the college, there are a lot. The job fairs over the past 2 years have really grown in scale, and also their connection with the different program areas. Can you talk about that? I just love seeing on a regular basis these job fairs, and you'll see hundreds of employers there and students just interacting. It's a great thing to witness.
Well, the employers love our career fairs. They're very well run. They always get a free breakfast. By the way, we never charge employers for anything. Mm-hmm. They don't pay a dime to attend anything at Wake Tech of our what we sponsor.
All we want them to do is hire our students, right?
Yes, we want them to hire our students. We want them to hire our students. So yes, no. So they, and our job fairs sell out, and that's how popular we are. So there's always a wait list for the targeted career fairs, and that's the the approach we've taken in recent years. So we do them specifically. For example, we have one that focuses on business and IT because most employers are hiring for both roles. So we combine those two. But we have one for engineering, for example. We have one for the skilled trades, and employers like it because they know students from those programs will be in attendance. And we've gotten really creative. We had this year, we have some mandatory attendance required, and that's thanks to the deans, the department heads that say to the students, this behooves you to go. Even if you're not looking for a job this year, you can practice networking because next year when you finish, you will be looking for a full-time job. So, and also we had passes basically, so students, if they were attending the career fair, they could get out of class. We had passes available that we'd sign and date stamp for the students too. So those are some creative ways that we've come up with for getting as many students there as possible too, because that's how the employers will gauge the success of a career fair is based on the attendance of students.
Yeah, those career fairs, they are booming, and they're a great thing to see.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes too, your utilization of technology is also a major part of career services, both having labor market information where students can find out what's the different options in terms of wages and job openings. But also you're using a new technology now called Handshake, a new system that we're involved with. Can you talk a little bit about Handshake and what that means, and how do employers or students get connected to Handshake, and what would that do?
Yes, we have a database of employers that have traditionally hired our students. So when we switched from a different platform, they were sent out notices and a link to create a new profile on Handshake. And it's a great platform. It does so many different things. For example, all of our events now, students register using Handshake for the career fairs. And then when they get there, they just have to scan the QR code and boom, in they go. No more signing in and signing out. So the Handshake has been great for that. I was talking with one of the career coaches earlier, and she was telling me that Handshake encourages employers to post salaries or wages because students are more inclined to look at those positions that have those, the salaries or wages associated with them. And so she said the majority of them do post the wage. And one thing we created in career services along with the Living Wage Job Action Team was a list of salaries and wages for all of our programs of study, starting with median wage, entry level, and then the 10-year plus mark. And that's available on our career services website. Anybody can go there and look and figure out does this program lead to a living wage job? So that's one way that we want them to make really informed decisions with wage and salary being just one consideration, of course, not everything.
And if you're an employer in Wake County, and even if you just think you may hire, you haven't hired, but you may hire Wake Tech students, having a Handshake profile would be the starting point, wouldn't it?
It is a starting point, yes, absolutely is. And if anyone goes to career services, waketech.edu, there's links for employers on that page. Students can book an appointment using Handshake. And we do have a drop-in career services lab that we run at all 6 campuses. And the busier campuses, we have them running twice a week, and the other ones we have once a week. But it's a good opportunity for anybody, someone in the community, to come on in and get some quick help. And we figure out a game plan then with our clients and our students both.
So if I'm a student, I may find you through an appointment, but I may drop in as well, and that's a new thing, right?
It is a new thing.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because there's so many opportunities at Wake Tech. Students need to know what is that? What is a drop-in opportunity? What will that provide for me, and what will happen at that?
Right. That's a very good point. I can tell you that our career coaches are booked approximately 2 weeks out right now. So I had a student come to me when I was in the lab and say, I have an interview at Duke today for the PA program. And so I was able to give her some quick help she wanted interviewing tips. Like, she knew what they were going to be asking her, and she wanted to know how her responses were. And so that's one example. When you don't have 2 weeks, you can't wait 2 weeks, you want to apply for a job, could you look at my resume quickly for me, for example? Those are good examples. Or, you come in and you're undecided and we get you started. We have a number of assessments we use. It just depends on what your needs are. So I might get you an account on Focus 2 and say, here, I want you to do these 2 assessments before we meet next week. And maybe looking at your strengths and your work-life balance, for example. So those are examples, and it's always free. Our services are free for our students indefinitely. So if you graduate from Wake Tech and come back in 5 years or 10 years, we'll still work with you.
That's right. Yeah, so you're always part of Wake Tech when you're
you
after
are.
you leave.
And let me tell you something, the four-year institutions don't necessarily do that, so that's a very good deal.
Good deal. Going back to drop-in, just so everybody understands, so is that virtual and physical drop-in?
It's in-person drop-in.
It's in-person drop-in.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, Dr. Wallace. We do offer virtual and in-person appointments. That's always an option. We were doing that in 2018, so several years before the pandemic, we were offering virtual appointments. And so we still do that. Students are more comfortable doing that now since the pandemic, it seems. And so I think we have one career coach that does exclusively virtual appointments, and he's booked every day, all day. He is completely booked all the time. So yes, I would say if you, and some people want to come in, and it's just more convenient to come in, and we're at 6 campuses, so you can go to any of the campuses and meet with a career coach.
Well, there is a world of opportunity and career services through the Career Services Division at Wake Tech. We're getting ready to embark very soon. We're just talking about it. It's just right around the corner, is our next academic year. Is there anything new out there that folks should know about? I mean, you've talked about a lot of things. Anything else you want to share before we leave and start moving towards 2024?
I just want to reiterate how important it is for students to see us earlier rather than later. Don't wait till after graduation. Come to us early. Let's get a 2-year game plan in mind for you. I don't want to be the best kept secret in town.
And one thing we didn't talk about too in coming early, because it's not just about when you're getting towards the end and making that connection to find the job, but it says you're coming in the door to figure out, what is it I may want to do someday? Because you have the wealth of career exploration services that you mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to do, help you, come up with an action plan, we call it. We have written action plans for our students. So, and again, that could look like what kind of part-time work would supplement the program of study I've selected, or maybe I should join a club. What club would be beneficial for me to join? Or maybe I should volunteer. Where should I volunteer? What would be useful and purposeful for the major that I've selected? So yeah, we love written action plans, and we'll hold you to it.
So it's waketech.edu career services.
careerservices.waketech.edu. You can book an appointment on Handshake Employers. You can create a profile. You can reach out to our employer connections individuals if you need more information on what you could do here with us on campus, how you could get in front of our students. So yeah, lots of options. And don't wait to book. As soon as you see the career fairs posted, sign up, because they do sell out. They do sell out.
So if you are a returning student at Wake Tech, or you're a new student at Wake Tech, no time is too early.
That's right.
Reach out to Career Services and start that process to help you find that opportunity you're looking for in our community. And if you're an employer in Wake County and you want to tap into the remarkable talent base that is Wake Tech Community Colleges and over 70,000 students, reach out to Career Services as well, and we'll get that profile and get you connected with how you connect with all the wonderful folks who are coming through Wake Tech in search of opportunity in our great community. So to Lynn Kavsek, our Dean of Career Services, thank you for all that you're doing for Wake Tech, for our students, for our employer community, and to all of you listening today. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of the We Are Wake Tech podcast. We'll see you next month again on We Are Wake Tech.
It's an exciting time at Wake Tech. We're less than 1 month away from the beginning of the fall semester. I'm Joshua McKinney with your Wake Tech News Update. Application season is off and running. A record number of future Wake Tech students are jumping in to take advantage of free book fall. This special promotion provides all the textbooks students need for fall classes, free of charge. To learn more, visit apply.waketech.edu. The application window is also open for free accelerated workforce training through Wake Tech Propel. Programs are offered in biotechnology, business, construction, healthcare, hospitality, and IT. All lead to an industry credential and can be completed in 6 months or less. Visit propel.waketech.edu. Wake Tech biotechnology students and alumni will soon be filling high-demand jobs. Industry leaders came to the Western Wake campus recently to recruit students and graduates with the skills they need. Many were looking to hire bioprocessing technicians, lab technicians, and manufacturing associates. Wake Tech offers the biotechnology and biopharmaceutical technology degrees, as well as the short-term, non-degree biowork program. 100 new Wake Tech students are off to a strong start, thanks in part to the Eagle Start Summer Bridge program. The 6-week program helps students who might need some extra assistance transitioning to college in a supportive and structured environment. Welcome sessions were held on the Scott Northern Wake campus and Southern Wake campuses, where students received laptops, book bags, and workbooks for English and math classes. The goal of Eagle Start Summer Bridge is to increase equitable outcomes by helping students complete courses needed to enter college-level English and math. Wake Tech students delivered on the national stage at the Skills USA National Leadership and Skills Conference. Oscar Avina Rodriguez and Charles Mayat won silver medals in the architectural drafting and principles of engineering competitions. Juliana Perciabali placed 10th in automotive refinishing technology. The three put their skills to the test alongside 6,500 others in the nation's largest showcase of skilled trades, which includes competition opportunities in 79 different career pathways. Wake Tech students brought home 7 awards, including a national champion trophy, during the Future Business Leaders of America Collegiate National Leadership Conference. Christy Berry Aracena, a human services technology graduate, won first place in sales presentation. She also placed 8th in public speaking. Cameron Jameson finished in 2nd place in web design and 4th place in desktop publishing. Paco Rodriguez earned 2nd place in impromptu speaking. Bradley Huntoon was 3rd place in both computer concepts and networking concepts. A new round of highly trained law enforcement officers will soon be on patrol to protect communities in Wake County and beyond. 35 cadets graduated from the Basic Law Enforcement Training Academy during a ceremony at the Southern Wake campus. The rigorous BLET program includes 768 hours of training, and cadets are required to pass the police officer's physical ability test, a timed series of search and rescue, physical agility, and mental alert drills. Wake Tech is pleased to welcome Dr. Michelle Jackson as the new Dean of Liberal Arts. Dr. Jackson brings more than 25 years of experience to Wake Tech. Dr. Jackson will provide a deep understanding of leadership for the Liberal Arts Division, including the Associate in Arts and Associate in Fine Arts transfer degrees, along with English, Communications, Social Sciences, Foreign Languages, Fine Arts, Academics Foundations, and Humanities courses needed by all transfer and career programs at Wake Tech. And finally, Wake Tech has expanded its social media coverage to include Meta's latest conversation app, Threads. You can find us and follow us at Wake Tech CC. And that's your latest Wake Tech News Update.
Hi, I'm Tamala Lewis, career coach with the Career Services Department here at Wake Technical Community College. Today, I'm sharing 5 tips on how to beef up your LinkedIn profile. Tip 1, change your headline. Your headline would automatically be your current job title, but viewers already have this information in your work history. Use this valuable space at the top of your profile to sell yourself in a different way. You can highlight that you're job seeking or open to opportunities. Or sell what makes you valuable to an organization. What's in it for an employer if they hire you? Maybe you're a resourceful project manager or you're an innovative leader. Tip 2, choose the right profile picture. Your picture is how people are introduced to you, and it also serves as a first impression. Make sure your picture is recent, actually looks like you, and doesn't show you too far off in the distance. For your attire, wear what aligns with your industry, and also make sure it fits your personal style preference. Don't forget to smile. Tip 3, make sure you have a summary. This is an opportunity to tell your story. Use it to highlight your biggest achievements, give insight into why you're changing careers, or show off that wonderful personality of yours so recruiters will be excited to contact you. Tip 4, don't copy and paste from your resume. Employers typically look at your LinkedIn profile after reading your resume, so they're expecting to see an extension of what they've already learned. Give them a fresh, well-rounded perspective into who you are as a professional. LinkedIn provides the functionality for you to link your projects, websites, articles, and much more. So take advantage of this. If you're unsure of how to do this, then schedule an appointment with a career coach here at the Career Services Department. And tip 5, build your connections. The more connections you have, the greater your visibility. Did you know a profile with more connections gets boosted by LinkedIn's algorithms? Because of this, you're more likely to get noticed and show up in recommendations tabs for other users to connect with. Struggling to identify who to connect with or request as a connection? No problem. Again, schedule an appointment with Career Services and we'll help you brainstorm ideas. I hope these 5 tips were helpful, and good luck with updating your LinkedIn profile.
Thank you for listening to the We Are Wake Tech podcast. Join us next month for more insightful conversations about the programs and people of Wake Tech and how the college changes lives every day. Be sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast app to have each episode delivered right to your computer or mobile device. For more, find us at podcast.waketech.edu. To learn more about Wake Tech's exceptional educational opportunities, visit waketech.edu.